Hello there, commanders, and welcome to a very irregular video where I just wanted to make a point, an argument, an observation about Total War Arena and how the new game mode and especially healing zones influence cavalry gameplay and especially cavalry balance. It is obviously not going to be a whole argument that will take the entire picture into account. It's just one small part, one puzzle of the entire much bigger conversation. But I want to make that observation nonetheless, since something that just came up to my attention while I was recording a battle commentary from this battle that you see on your screens right now. But I think before we go there, let's first take a look at how a very similar situation looked in the wargaming version. I mean, in this battle is around 4-minute mark. So, a tier 10 battle on the Rubicon, and I'm playing slingers because range meta is real, right? Just look at the damage that I deal to that cavalry. Ooh, they're getting absolutely obliterated. Just up to 2k per volley. That's so much damage. And like only 12% missiles are getting through. 16%. 300. Yes, all these numbers are very spicy, as you can see. This cavalry will really want to kill me because of that. Because I dare to inflict a very small amount of damage on them. But now, after I've memed the ranged meta a little bit, let's focus on the actual case here, on the cavalry meta, and how it looked previously, and then we'll see how it looks now. So, I obviously just bunch up in a blob so that I'm easier to defend, and Jojo has only 2 units here, one of them gets routed, he gets it back. And hey, he's just constantly in phalanx. I'm just constantly trying to avoid charges, get to the other side. That the cavalry, if it wants to get to me, it needs to go through Jojo's spears, and so that I can shoot a little bit. But yeah, at this point, or at any point really, I'm just much better at just being a bait. And here I make a very small mistake. But I wanted to dodge the charge, so I dodged to the left, because to the right I would just run straight into it. But that takes me a little bit too far away from Jojo, so I'm going to pay quite a lot. I'm now trying to pull through Jojo, but as you can see, I'm still useless. I was very useless from the very beginning, because I picked slingers in ranged meta, so obviously I'm not going to do anything significant in this battle. But because our opponents also believe in ranged meta, they try to kill me for that very reason, because ranged units obviously would obliterate them if they left them alone. So what they end up doing is they keep running straight into Jojo's phalanx, and as you can see by the cavalry HP bars, they have melted, because, well, it's cavalry trying to pull through our spear phalanx. Obviously it is not going to do well. And I guess that's about the point I wanted to make. Keep that in mind, what happened here, and let's go on to the video that I just recorded from the Chinese version, and how the introduction of healing zones changes that landscape. Also, I guess let's finish making a point from this video. The point is here that, well, I do die after all of that. And Jojo, all of his units are still alive. He managed to survive with all of them to the end. See, he has still 2 left. He has 3 left. Hello, then obviously he's not getting them back because there's no healing, no respawns, etc. And yeah, oh well. It ends up being a dragged out battle because the only things they have left is elephants. The elephants are broken in their own way. There's no way to route them. There's no way to deal with them. If you don't have a very specific set of units, you cannot touch them. So it just ends up being a time victory. But that's a little bit beyond the point. Okay. down to this video, and that was around the 14-minute mark. Okay. Before 30. More or less here. Okay. So here is a very similar situation. Let me pause. We had a lot more cavalry back in the previous scenario, back in the previous battle, but the point still stays. The mechanic is the same. So it is 2 ranged units. You see here 2 javelin units, protected by this time 2 spears plus 1 sword. And well, I'm Scipio, so I have a little... No, there were Scipios there as well, because there were Legatus cavalry in the enemy team as well, so I would be really surprised if those weren't Scipio. So anyway, what ends up happening here, while making a point about holding the point and keeping the healing zone for my allies that I can use it, but all I want to do is kill those javelin and hold the point at the same time, right? So it is essentially the same target, same goal I want to achieve as the cavalry in the previous scenario. So what I do, I just run into spears, the same as back then. I run into spears, avoid those, right? Try to get onto those javelin. I line up my charge here, but well, they're doing the correct thing. Mistru is doing the bad thing and is taking the camera away so I can fucking point it. For faxing Mistru, focus on point C, thank you. I charge in here, javelin did the correct thing, they ran through their soldiers and well, ran away from me, let it be blocked. But as I also pointed in the video, they have only 2 choices here and none of them is correct. They either stay here in melee, within like their own units and keep being protected, but then they just die in melee to my cavalry. Or they run away, but then I still have 1 cavalry unit free that it will be able to snipe them. So that ends up happening. Keep running away, one of them gets routed. This spear unit decides to join into the melee. More or less correct decision as well. I mean, it will deal a lot of damage, will prevent my other 2 units from running away, but I don't care, they're already enough anyway. And I get to snipe these 2 javelin units, rout them, and finish them off. And now what ends up happening, right? I have some infantry reinforcements here, but that was the case for the team with cavalry in the previous scenario as well. So the melee infantry support comes in and cleans it up. Now what is important here is whether the units die or not, because if the units die, they lose all their accumulated bright XP, unless they just barely leveled up before death. And cavalry, well, I gained XP because I killed some, right? So I do get that XP. I do not die at the end of this scenario, and then I just get to go back and heal, especially since we capture C from that. Or did we defend C? I don't know, either we capture. Yeah, we defend because we already have the healing zone. So we defend C, and after defending C I can just go back, even level up with one of my units, just now from hunting down those javelin. Then I get to go back and heal. And all of these units that were here died, apart from I think 1 spear unit. This one is about to die, and the other... Well, there were only 2 units, so 1 escaped. So that 1 spear unit that escaped got to save its XP that it got through killing half of each of my units. So there's that. But is it really worth it? Like in this situation, right? I did something technically stupid, as the cavalry in the previous video did. Run straight into phalanx and just die to it. Maybe not die like the entire unit, but suffer heavy casualties. But here I just get to replenish it, no problem. I get all the XP, I get to defend the point, I kill enemies, 1 player, King Bobby, had all 3 units here at the point C, all died. 1 Shen unit, we got all the XP, the point, the advantage, push them back, and all they got is to save XP from 1 of the units that survived and needs to run all the way back to their base to heal up. Which in this particular scenario won't be easy, because as you can see there's already 12 units capping that base. But that's a little bit beyond the point. So yeah, that is an observation that I would like to make, and I think something needs to be done to balance it. because especially cavalry in those scenarios will be a little bit strong. They benefit the most because of their speed, of how easy for them it is to just go back, heal up, run to a point, force out those ranged units, flank around, run around enemy formations. That all comes with speed. You obviously cannot nerf cavalry speed because that's the main feature of cavalry. It is faster than infantry. You cannot change it. It has to be faster, obviously. But you may change other things. One of the things I think should change is putting the healing zones a little bit back. They're closer to your own base, further from the enemies, so that defending the points is a little bit harder. Anyway, well, then that will just promote more aggressive playstyle. Because the defenders cannot just, oh, I'm defending the base, a capture point, let me just walk back and I'll be back in 20 seconds fully healed up, as I also show in this battle, which you can watch already the live recording of that I have on my channel, and you can also just watch the battle commentary of this video, but that will come out later, probably much later than this video. I don't know the exact days when those videos will be coming out. I'm still figuring out my schedule, etc, ahead of the Total War Arena 23rd of September release. So yeah, we'll see when that comes out. But this I'll upload very quickly. And the other thing that I think could change is a nerf to cavalry only, and it has to do with just healing itself. Instead of cavalry healing within 10 seconds, it would be increased to, for example, 15 or 20 seconds. Just because, you know, they can run to a healing zone and back to the action much faster. That could be counterbalanced by just making them heal longer. I mean, it would be a controversial change, but I think overall it would be for the better, because in the current state, as we also talk about in our discussing Total War Arena balance, or balanced Total War Arena podcast, which I'll also link in the top right corner right now, we talk about how to balance cavalry for about 30 minutes, I think, 20 to 30 minutes. And we do bring up a lot of those points that, yeah, cavalry itself as a unit isn't really that OP. Although we see that cavalry doing some ridiculous amount of tanking, and not even if it's Scipio, even like Arminius cavalry, which should be a glass cannon, is capable of some really serious tanking, which is also shown, I believe, in this video, and also a few other videos that I've recorded as well. Can't really remember which exactly on the top of my head, but yeah, overall cavalry is able to do some crazy tanking, so maybe a nerf to the tankiness could also be a solution, so that it just cannot get stuck into melee and then get to run away pretty much unscathed. Because I lost half HP, didn't really matter, I just got to hold it back up very quickly, and I save all of my XP while the infantry cannot do it. If infantry is chased by a faster unit, it's dead, unless it can just outfight it, right? But cavalry has always that comfort of being one of the fastest units. The only thing that can be chased by is another faster cavalry. But then cavalry is counter to cavalry, not really a counter, right? So yeah, that's just one puzzle, one observation within a very much larger discussion about the balance of Total War Arena, cavalry balance, just as much as the overall balance, and the game mode itself, I guess, like, you know, the placement of the healing zones, their mechanics, how long it does take to heal, where they're placed, etc, etc. So please do not attack me in the comments, but Miss Shu, you didn't take this into account, or this into account, or this into account. As I said, we already talked about just cavalry alone for 30 minutes in our podcast, and we could have talked for much longer. And it would be just about cavalry alone, let alone just the entire gameplay, game mode, and, you know, how that cavalry changes correspond to infantry, archers, etc., 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 etc. So yeah, we discussed that balance for 3.5 hours in our podcast, and there were still so many things that we didn't mention in there, because that is just a very huge topic. So, as I said, it's just a singular observation. Take it kind of as a stand-alone thing, which obviously it isn't, as I said. But yeah, please do not attack me on that base in the comments. And well, let me think. Let me know what you think about, well, the situation I displayed in this video. Yeah, I'll see you in the comments. Go check the links in the description to help us bring Arena back to the West. Friendly fire that subscribe button, and I will see you on Arena's Battlefields Commanders.